Hi guys, I'm Scott Brown, the developer for the game Journey for the Crown, and this is my 24th devlog. Now we left off in the last devlog where I was putting together, or starting to put together, the necromancer scene. So today we're just going to be going over all the different things that I've been putting together for that one. I don't know if we'll entirely have it all finished. It's actually 3 scenes put together. What I decided to do is make 3 floors. Basically, the final dungeon is 3 separate scenes. Originally, I was going to kind of pack it all into one, but I decided, I don't know, I always get carried away, and I just want to keep making more and more and more stuff. So it's going to be a lot bigger than I initially intended, so I am enduring a bit of scope creep here, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing here, and it is the final boss. I'm getting excited here, so I'm trying to make it as awesome as I can. So here I am just using some existing assets from the other scenes that I built. So there was the ancient cave that used some of these like purple rocks and that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to theme this this necromancer layer to make it look like, because technically they're in the same mountain, it's just a different entrance. So I thought it'd be really cool if they kind of had a bit of the same theme. So using those little rocks, here I am trying to make like a cliffside that is actually baked right into one of these hallways that's inside the necromancer layer. So in my earlier devlog, we kind of went over some of the different tiles that I'm using. So I've made different room sizes. I've also added in like a ton of different props that we'll be going into in further detail later. But that's basically kind of my first hallway here. It's kind of pieced together. I do want it to look like it's been built into a mountain, so I'm going to be using a lot of deco tiles. This like giant rock formation that you kind of superimpose it into the surface, and then I blend it together. And it looks really cool. It kind of looks like the wall is crumbled down a little bit, and you see rubble. So, being it's made in a cave, I thought it would look really cool if there was some areas that kind of looked broken and that sort of stuff. Now, I went over to Google to get some inspiration for different types of props and that sort of stuff. I like what I saw here with the little gems. I also wanted to get some layout ideas of different kinds of rooms. Like this one here has kind of like a jail below. And also just kind of maze-like structures here too. I did also get some ideas. I was thinking of adding spiders in one of my areas here. So lots of cool ideas that I picked up by just perusing Google Images with some good queries. I thought ChatGPT was also a really helpful tool for coming up with ideas. Now, one of my viewers on Twitch recommended that I could add some cool props to this scene, and one of them is these Necronomicon. They're kind of like runes or drawings that necromancers would use. I didn't know about it. I've known about runes and things like that, but this one here is just filled with cool, abstract-looking drawings. So I don't have anything built into the game that is really talking about this sort of stuff, but I figured I could kind of build it into this dungeon and make it look like it's some ominous and dangerous looking place. It also is kind of creepy looking. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff means, if it has any meaning at all. So I'm going to basically draw a whole bunch on this red area here. I just have the red in there just so I could see what I'm drawing. I think the end result is it's going to be blood red, but here I am trying to draw a circle. Gosh, it's really hard to draw a circle with your mouse. I think I finally got it here. But what I'm going to end up doing is I think I'm going to make these little markings, these runes. I'm going to lay them on the ground so that it look like somebody, like a witch or a necromancer mage or something like that has painted these scriptures or this sort of writing on the ground. And it's just going to add to the overall creepiness of this dungeon, I think. So I really appreciate the help from this viewer, kind of coming up with some ideas when I was struggling. And this one's really cool. I'm liking it. So I went to town and just started drawing a whole bunch. You can see here all the different kinds I've got. I think I ended up in the end maybe making about 30 different ones. And what I end up doing is actually they are separate. I end up merging them all into one, so when I have like a room of a whole bunch of these laid out in whatever pattern I put them down as, I can just merge them as one object, and then I could save it and then maybe reuse it somewhere else in the game. So I don't do everything in Blender. It's kind of a bit of Blender and merging it inside Unity's editor, and then I can kind of make up prefabs and that sort of stuff. So as I moved along, I went and grabbed some assets from a different scene just because I didn't want to end up doing things twice. So I grabbed some tables and some bookshelves, and I'm just repurposing them a little bit here so that they'll work in this first room here that's going to have props. This is basically going to be my stage for theming things. I also needed to work on some lighting, so I did have some of these little braziers here that I believed I used them in the other zone as well. So they have like little trigger colliders set on them as well. So when you walk by them, it lights up. It is a very dark zone, so lighting is kind of a must. I love using crates. I can't get enough of using that sort of stuff. It really does help fill in areas that feel kind of bare. Ended up repurposing one of these orc banners into one that looked more suited for inside this necromancer layer. So I put a skull up there, and I also made the post like spiked looking. I thought it looked pretty good. I did have to put some cloth component physics onto it so that if I do use it outside, you know, wind will affect it and looks pretty cool like that. I did put a subtle amount of wind on it, even though you're indoor. I just like the look of it. I also wanted to make some other versions of prefabs that could utilize this same like post-like thing here. So I just started throwing some skeletons and rib cages on this thing just so it kind of looks demonic. So I continued making some more props here. I'm just repurposing a candle just to have some different darker textures to it. And I figured it's just a nice easy way of adding some more lighting in the scene here. With some of the different room ideas, I came up with some different types of props. One of them here, I wanted to make kind of like this hanging up jail that you'd see, I think it was in Lord of the Rings when they're in Dol Guldur. They had like this sort of jail that was hanging by a chain. So I liked the idea. I decided to make my own version of that sort of thing. And I'm just going to scatter them throughout the hallways and different rooms just to give it that scary, eerie feeling. So here I am just UV mapping it up. I have this just like a mega texture, but it's actually a texture atlas. And I like to share a lot of different textures on here. That way, if I want to merge several objects together, I can. So grabbing some of these chains here from another prefab I have, I'm just going to repurpose it on the same texture so that I can merge them together as one object in Unity and then prefab it. Now, using those same chains, I decided I wanted to make some like torture tables and that sort of stuff. So I fashioned up this little table here and chained some unfortunate skellies down on it. Made it look like they'd been experimented on and kind of just abandoned at some point. I started getting more ideas with chains put up on walls, and I had this idea in this jail here where I would use those. I believe putting some skeletons down would probably look really cool as well. Now, I did a bit of a round here, putting tables down and skeletons and potions, and just to see what the overall theme was looking like in some of these rooms, just to see how many more assets I should really put together. Now, I took a little break from doing the necromancer layer stuff. I'm still technically in it. There's some caves that like branch off of the necromancer's lair, and that's where all the orcs and goblins are kind of bunkered up. So I ended up putting this little area together here using some assets that I've made in various other scenes and areas of the game. And I'm just trying to repurpose them so it looks kind of cool in here. Now, as I was progressing in this thing, I felt like it was still missing the theme that I was after. So I decided to make some new walls that would have skeletons literally like melted inside the wall. So I came up with this idea where I'm just going to lay a bunch of skeletons on the ground and then place an object kind of like just halfway through their bodies, and then make it look like they're built right inside to it, and then merge them in Unity and make them as a prefab. I decided to run with this thing, and I made some new walls, and I think the result, it looks pretty cool. Now, I like the idea so much that I made another prefab that was an insert for the other walls in the necromancer layer that I can just scatter at random, just to give it a little bit of a different look to it. And I'm very impressed with the idea here. It works very well. It was at this stage in developing this scene that I decided I wanted to make the scene 3 floors. So there'll be 3 different scenes now. And as a result of that, I decided I can make the first floor, a lot bigger. So I grabbed this bridge from one of my other scenes and just going to repurpose it so that I can make a bridge right across this little chasm here. And it's a pretty cool idea. I like bridges. I always think they're neat. They are tricky to put together, especially with pathing systems, but I've done them many times now. I think I know pretty much all the little things that need to be done, but I think as a result, this one was a little bit too thin. I might actually end up having to go back to the other scene and make it a little bit wider. It's kind of annoying to walk through very narrow bridges with your full group. Realistically, it needs to be probably about 2 of those bricks wide. Now, I really like the end result here. Being able to walk through this area here is quite cool looking, so very happy with this. Now, I really started going to town here with building new rooms, as I've got so much more real estate in this area. Decided to make one boss fight here, where the idea was there'd be like this big tank-like boss, and he's going to have his spirit has been separated from him, and he's being kind of like pulled apart and tortured by it. And the idea of the battle will be he'll have a certain attack that will be area effect and basically destroy you in one instance. But in order to avoid it, you just have to stand around his spirit in the middle of the room, and it'll try to save you. So I like the idea of that encounter here, so I'm just kind of piecing it together. Things started to really progress here. I decided to make an underground forest in the necromancer layer. So as you venture deeper, some of these areas aren't exactly like populated with like the walls that you were seeing earlier. So it's a cave, and it's like you're really venturing deep into this mountain. And I really like the idea of having this area here. It really breaks the scene up, and it makes it feel like you're going so far into this mountain you just don't know what to expect anymore. Now, I always had this idea of putting dinosaurs in an underground cave. Big fan of that movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth. I thought it was such a cool movie. Anyways, I've got a whole bunch of dinosaur packs that I picked up on the asset store. I think I got this one for like $5, and it looks really good. I'll probably make use of 1 or 2 of these dinos in here at least, maybe some velociraptors as well. But now I'm going to start off with the T-Rex here, and I got him all rigged up. He does only have a few animations, so he's not going to be packed full of different abilities. It's basically just going to chomp on you, and it's going to hurt a lot. Very tank and spake kind of battle. Here I am just testing out my stealth on him. It does work. I could turn that off if I want, but I thought it was appropriate that he couldn't see you. And here he is. He's coming to get me. Oh boy. Now, someone on my Twitch channel thought it'd be a cool idea if I could charm this thing and make him one of my pets. So we rigged it up just to see how it would work. And lo and behold, he's my pet running around. That's fucking crazy looking. I was so excited about this. I wasn't sure it was going to work, but I guess I designed it well enough that charming basically works on anything unless I deem it not to work. But here he is. He's running around. Wasn't too sure what I was going to do about this door here, though. But one of my viewers was just saying, let it happen. It's just one of those things that no one's going to care about. And I like that. I don't think I have the time or patience or bug control to actually make that T-Rex not go through the wall. It would probably create a whole bunch of problems for me. So right now you do see me running through the walls. It's just because I haven't baked the pathing system yet. But essentially he works. He follows me around. Oh, and now he just turned against me. So now I got myself two enemies here to deal with. Now I decided to, with all the rooms that I've made, just start placing a whole bunch of these prefabs that I've been making, all the props, all the the wall tiles that had the skeletons built into it, all the flags and banners and skeletons on sticks, and even these dudes that I chained up on the walls. Basically just going around and just dumping this stuff everywhere I possibly can and trying to sprinkle it around as much as I possibly can. I really think it's starting to piece itself together, and I think I'm ready to move on to something else. Now, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to put some spiders in here, and I hadn't found a spot yet, so I'm already on the second floor now, so second scene, and there's this hallway that has a whole bunch of orcs and goblins in it, so I decided halfway through I'm going to populate it with some spiders. So I'm just hunting down some different cobwebs, because I do have some cobwebs in that I use, but I think it's been a little while and I don't really like the look so much anymore, so trying to find some new stuff, but really didn't get too much luck with it. So I ended up making myself some new ones, and really impressed with the way these look. Now, this spider area was right beside some orcs and goblins in a hallway there, so I found it kind of weird that they'd just be right beside each other, so I decided to separate them with this cave-like bridge, using a different strategy before I used that concrete block bridge. This one I wanted it to make it like actually built into the terrain and look like a natural passageway, you know, not something man-made. So here I am just utilizing different rock assets and some blending tools and just trying to make it look like a really cool bridge. Now, just walking through all this newly added stuff here, I think it looks really good. The cobwebs are nice and detailed versus the old ones are a little bit too fuzzy. They didn't really look real. This is a nice touch with the rocks. Looks very high end. Anyways, I think I'm going to move on from this devlog, and we'll save you the other stuff for the next one. I'm going to be working on the necromancer and some dragons and a whole bunch of bosses. I'll probably make a video pretty much all about just piecing all the enemies together, because right now these are just kind of like the scenes that are being put together. I have added enemies here and there, just sprinkles of it, but I mean, they still have a lot of polish to them. Some of their mechanics are not finished, and they're not even using the right abilities. So there's quite a bit of work to be done in terms of adding enemies, as well as items and secrets need to be added too. So those will be very fun and interesting to put into another devlog that I think should be separate. So anyways, that's it for this devlog, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like me on my socials over at Facebook. Come visit me over on Twitch and watch me on the weekends. And make sure you like and subscribe the video. Anyways, cheers, guys.